In vain would science scan and trace firmly her aspect. All the while, there gleams upon her far-off face a vague unfathomable smile. Action helps thought, and thought helps action. By action thought is rendered more masculine, attains to greater breadth, and acquires a certain nobleness and dignity. Thanks to thought, action may become more definite, more precise, more fruitful. I urge everyone, every now and again at least, to lay down the novel and open the poem, but let it be a poem that will enlarge one's conception of life, that will help one to think loftily, and to feel nobly, will teach us that there is something more important to ourselves even than ourselves, something more important and deserving of attention than one's own small griefs and own petty woes, the vast and varied drama of history, the boundless realm of the human imagination, and the tragic interests and pathetic struggles of mankind. Now do I know that love is blind, for I can see no beauty on this beauteous earth, no life, no light, no hopefulness, no mirth, pleasure nor purpose, when thou art not nigh. Thy absence exiles sunshine from the sky, sears spring's maturity, checks summer's birth, leaves linnet's pipe as sad as plover's cry, and makes me in abundance find but dearth. But when thy feet flutter the dark, and thou with orient eyes dawnest on my distress, suddenly sings a bird on every bough, the heavens expand, the earth grows less and less, the ground is buoyant as the ether now, and all looks lovely in thy loveliness. Perhaps a maiden's bashfulness is more a matron's lesson than our lips avert. In truth, if I were asked to say briefly what pessimism is, I should say it is disappointed egotism, and the description will hold good, whether we apply it to an individual, to a community, or to an age. We are all alike, and we love to keep passion aglow at our feet, like one that sitteth in shade and complacently smiles at the heat. He is dead already who doth not feel life is worth living still. Doth nature draw me, 'tis because, unto my seeming, there doth lurk a lawlessness about her laws, more mood than purpose in her work. So, timely you came, and well you chose, you came when most needed, my winter rouse. From the snow I pluck you, and fondly press your leaves twixt the leaves of my leaflessness. 'Tis true among fields and woods I sing, aloof from cities that my poor strains were born, like the simple flowers you bring, in English meadows and English lanes. Show me your garden, provided it be your own, and I will tell you what you are like. For there is no gardening without humility, an assiduous willingness to learn, and a cheerful readiness to confess you were mistaken. Nature is continually sending even its oldest scholars to the bottom of the class for some egregious blunder. There are many excellent persons who accept as poetry any sentiment, or any opinion expressed in meter with which they happen to agree. But neither sound opinion nor wholesome sentiment suffices to produce that exceedingly delicate and subtle thing which alone is rightly termed poetry, and, in abandoning lofty themes, and descending to humbler ones, writers of verse unquestionably expose themselves to the danger not only of not rising above the level of their subject, but even of sinking below it. The glory of gardening, hands in the dirt, head in the sun, heart with nature. To nurture a garden is to feed not just the body, but the soul. A garden that one makes oneself becomes associated with one's personal history and that of one's friends, interwoven with one's tastes, preferences, and character, and constitutes a sort of unwritten, but withal manifest autobiography. Poetry is the subject at present of much prose criticism, prose exposition, and prose controversy, but the controversialists are largely the poets themselves, or those who aspire to the title. The subject is treated by them with much earnestness, indeed with some little heat, and it is easy to perceive that the main object of most of the disputants is to establish the superiority of the poet whom the critic himself most admires, and possibly whom he himself most resembles. Women, to whom a barbarous description, willingly accepted by themselves, has been applied, have recently been much in the public eye, and still more in the public prints. But I should not class them under the designation of feminine, and, though they may have invaded prose fiction, they have not been, and I think they never will be, met with in poetry. They are noisy, but numerically weak. Eve listening to the tempter, then bewailing her weakness, Ruth amid the alien court, Magdalene and her box of spikenard, Helen of Troy following evil-hearted Paris, Beatrice in heaven, Una and the milk-white lamb, Rosalind and Celia in As You Like It, the lily maid of Astolat the idols of the king. These are women of whom, or, at least, of the sentiments and sympathies of whom, as manifested in English poetry, I wish to speak. The most progressive age one can possibly conceive will never succeed in leaving human nature behind, and I have not the smallest doubt that women will continue to be womanly to the end of time. The decay of authority is one of the most marked features of our time. Religion, politics, art, manners, speech, even morality, considered in its widest sense, have all felt the waning of traditional authority, and the substitution for it of individual opinion and taste, and of the wavering and contradictory utterances of publications ostensibly occupied with criticism and supposed to be pronouncing serious judgments. By authority I do not mean the delivery of dogmatic decisions, analogous to those issued by a legal tribunal from which there is no appeal, that have to be accepted and obeyed, but the existence of a body of opinion of long standing, arrived at after due investigation and experience during many generations, and reposing on fixed principles or fundamentals of thought. This it is that is being dethroned in our day, and is being supplanted by a babel of clashing, irreconcilable utterances, often proceeding from the same quarters, even the same mouths. Our modern pessimists cannot see a tree, a flower, or a mountain, but straightway they drop into what I may call a falling sickness, and all the beauty of the woods, fields, and sky merely suggests to them a picturesque background for their own superior sighs and sorrows. Through the dripping weeks that follow one another slow, and soak summer's extinguished fire and autumn's drifting smoke,